YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to another mock draft simulator. Today, we're going to be doing the New England Patriots, a team that is in transition. This is the first time in a long time that they've got a new head coach that's trying to put his stamp on this team. They have a lot of picks to play with. They got 3 inside the top 100, 4 in the top 105 because they got 103 as well. They've made some moves in free agency to help address some needs, brought back a familiar face in Jacoby Brissett. They've added some help at wide receiver with KJ Osborne. They brought in some linebacker depth with potential starting potential with Sione Takitaki. They brought in some offensive line depth, but they need a lot of offensive line help. So with that being said, as always, if you're enjoying the video, please smash the like. If you got comments, post them below. We love to chat in those comments, and let's get to it. So pick 103, we obviously know quarterback is a big need here. 101, we know it's Caleb Williams, or 99% sure it's Caleb Williams. Washington's kind of the wild card at 102. Do they go Jaden Daniels like they did in this mock draft, or do they go with Drake May? All these teams right here need quarterback. Outside of pick 4 with Arizona, who's set with Kyler Murray, New England could easily go quarterback here. They could easily go Marvin Harrison Jr. New England needs a lot of offensive help. They've got some players. They've got some decent guys that would be depth. They've got running backs pretty well set with Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. They got Keyshawn Vaughn as a depth guy there. But they've got quarterback depth. Jacoby Brissett's a nice backup, spot starter guy. Can't see them really sticking with him as their starter this year. So I think they still go quarterback. I think it's got to be, in this case, it's going to be Drake May. I know that JJ McCarthy's getting a ton of hype. I just don't necessarily see him a top 10, top 12, 13 type player. Give me Drake May here. Drake May's got everything you could look for in a quarterback. I mean, he's been hyped up almost from day one, but he brings it. You know, he's got a great athletic skill set. He brings a lot of those tools to the table. He's won plenty of awards. He has shown the leadership, has been able to make things happen with not the best offensive line in front of him and not the most amazing skill position players. They've been good, but it's not as though he's stacked and he's, you know, just working within the system. I mean, you see him be able to make things happen on the move. He can take the deep shot. He's got good velocity and zip on the ball. Definitely one of those guys that you feel comfortable in your starting lineup from day one. Now, pick 34 here. This is going to be an interesting one to see how the last half of the first round goes. You know, do we see some wide receivers drop, or do we see an offensive lineman drop? Now, when we look through what's available currently, AD Mitchell, I mean, he blew everybody away at the combine. He could slide in and easily be your wide receiver 1 from day one. You've got some offensive linemen here in Jordan Morgan, who, you know, is definitely a guy I would certainly consider here. Troy Franklin maybe is a little bit further down. I don't necessarily wouldn't be a guy I don't think I'm taking here at 34. Another, you know, interior line help. They could use a center for sure. You know, if Jackson Powers Johnson was sitting here, I would jump all over him. I think at this point, I think we just have to kind of go with best available in this situation and go AD Mitchell. With Mitchell, you've got the size, you know, 6'2", over 200 pounds. He's got the speed, obviously clocked as one of the fastest this year to do it. He's explosive. He's got great ball skills. He's got control. All the things that you could look for in your starting receiver, he's got it. Absolutely solid. I think the route tree will continue to develop, and I think he's in a good spot to step in. Now we're bouncing back here at pick number 68. As you can see, the board's kind of fallen in a weird spot. You know, we've got plenty of running backs, got an interior lineman, which most likely will be the pick here, but it's not going to be the interior lineman that's rated higher. Cedric Von Pron from Georgia sitting here. This guy could probably step in and be an interior offensive lineman, fight for that center job with Jake Andrews. I mean, you've got some different pieces here that you can move around and use, and I think that really helps this team. So having a guy like Van Pron can really help in this situation. He can play across your interior. He can be your guard. He can be your center. I think from day one, he's a better run blocker than pass blocker, but I think there's room to improve. The thing that I like a lot about Van Pron is he's coming from a winning program. He's played impactful, meaningful snaps against high quality competition. I mean, he's giving you a lot of experience there that I think can really help. Now here at pick 103, we're kind of in that fringe situation where can we find a guy that could compete for a starting spot early, or do we find guys that have tools, traits that could develop over time? I'm looking through this list and I see a guy from Notre Dame here that I really do like a lot, and Blake Fisher should be the pick if that was the way the board fell. Now, he may not be as elite as Joe Alt, but he's not bad, and he's definitely one of those guys that I think could compete for early playing time and be successful. He's got great agility. He's a plus blocker in the run game. I think he got a really refined skill set in terms of how he uses his body, how he uses his hands, getting up under those guys. When I'm watching the film of Fisher, you see a guy that he is physical, he's tough. You hear people throw around the bulldozer term. This definitely gives you those type of vibes with this guy. So give me Blake Fisher here and let's go. Now that we're in the 5th round, we're starting to get to that point where you're definitely looking for a guy with traits that could be depth from day one, could develop into something for you. We're going to turn to the defensive side of the ball for the first time in this draft. They don't necessarily need defensive line helps. They have plenty of players here, but Mekhi Wingo sitting on the board here from LSU. If that really is the case, I would jump all over it. This guy does not hit the ground. I mean, this guy has tremendous balance. Maybe doesn't have the perfect prototypical size for how New England uses some of these guys, but you could move him around and really use that pass rushing ability that he has to your advantage. I like that guy. I think he would play well in this scheme and really help bolster a pass rush, and be able to rotate in, and has played against some high quality competition. And I think he develops into a guy that could turn into a starter down the road for you. At pick 180, it's a no-brainer for me. They could use some tight end depth that could develop. This guy is not necessarily a good blocking tight end, but is better as a pass-catching tight end. Just another weapon that you can use in this offense. I'm going Jaheim Bell from Florida State. I know, and something that this team could use some help. Maybe you flex him out in the slot. Maybe you do some things out of the backfield with him. Here, at 193, we pick just a little bit later. We're just going to let the board fall to us and take the best player available. I mean, Nehemiah Pritchett is a guy that I could easily see be an outside starter in a couple of years. Very fast, very fluid feet. He's very quick. I think there's some room for improvement in a couple of areas, but I think this kid has a lot to like, and I think a team would be excited to land a guy that could develop into one of their outside starters, this late in the draft. And with our final pick in the draft, I'm just going back to the wide receiver well. With a guy like Cornelius Johnson, if he's really sitting here this late, I'm jumping all over him. He was a regular contributor from the Wolverines from day one as a freshman. He's got reliable hands. He may not have the wow factor of some of those earlier drafted receivers, but this kid is very consistent. I could easily see him be a guy that, because of how, he just won a national championship, he's had plenty of game action against high caliber talent, and he's proven that he can do it. He's been successful. I think this is a guy that you immediately have in your rotation, even if he's just a depth guy to start. What do you guys think? If you're a New England Patriots fan, would you be happy focusing on the offensive side of the ball? Would you be happy looking to players like this? Let me know in the comments below.